Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Butter Dish Gals Live. We're here with Coach Jane, Coach Emily, and Coach Cherish, and me, Coach Adek. And we're going to talk about priming. Hold on. Sorry. There we go. And, oh, I'm sorry about the noise. We are all interested in Coach Jane because she is priming with the group, and I would like to Emily take over so she can talk a little bit about last week and what she has to do this week, perhaps. So go ahead.
Yes. Well, she does have a job, as you all have heard. Her job is to eat like it's her job, and she's doing smashingly. I can't wait for you guys to see some of the pictures of how Jane's priming is going. This is really common when we have individual clients. Is we'll ask them to share food pics, and so that helps us to have some eyes on there, some encouragement, and it really helps the participant to have accountability. And so this is kind of the value of doing these coach to coach. And Cherish and I were just saying, coaches need coaches too. So anyhow, thank you for being willing to do this with us, Jane. This is so fabulous. And then I need to shout out a welcome to Raymond because I see he's in the chat box. Hi, Raymond. Raymond is, of course, was penned, created. This is Raymond's pattern that he noticed with clients for years and years. And this is for a successful carnivore journey. You start with doing 2 weeks of really eating as much as you can for that full period. So it's 3 meals a day. The first week, it's 3 meals plus snacks. This is such an important process to us that we devote an entire class to it every week in SB Gang. Every Tuesday, Raymond teaches a class all about priming. And so Jane have completed her first week. She's moving into her second week, and there's lots of different reasons why people prime. I just want to hear for you to recap why you're doing this, Coach Jane.
Right. So I've been completely carnivore for about 2 months. And then before that, I was ketovore. Before that, I was keto, and then low carb before that. Probably haven't eaten bread and stuff for like 20 odd years. I mean, I just don't. So I was always reasonably low carb, but I struggle to put weight on unless I eat carbs. And I felt as I'm menopausal, actually, my body fat is incredibly low. I also have a very active job. So I'm a personal trainer, a PT instructor, and a Pilates instructor. So I'm running classes and seeing clients all week. So I just felt that my body needed a bit more support. And I was getting a few issues that weren't kind of going. And the increase in the fat is great. But then I was realizing, actually, I'm not eating very much. And it wasn't actually until I sent you the picture how much I was eating before I started priming that I realized actually how little I was eating. So basically, I just want to be able to eat more.
It's phenomenal. And I think that, remind us of your age, Jane. Sorry.
I'm 54 in about 3 weeks.
54. Okay. And looking so beautiful. And, this is what I've been reading and hearing is that it's just the decades and decades and decades in our bodies. It's not necessarily the menopause per se. Of course, there's a ton of hormonal changes that happen through menopause, but it's in addition to decades of, for a lot of people, under eating and too much activity and restriction for a lot of people. I don't feel like you were doing that on purpose. You just are a fast burner. You just go, and just don't, some of us on this journey, we have to relearn our relationship with food so that we're not turning to food all the time. I think for you, this is relearning your relationship with food to make sure that they're fully nourished and have all the hormone cascade that you need for your body to run beautifully. Cherish, do you have the pictures that we took that she shared with us about what her portion size were kind of like before?
Yes, I do. Let me get those booted up. Let's see. Share screen. Okay. Hang on, everybody. This is the first time to share, and it is giving me some technical stuff here. Let's see. Share screen. Don't show this again. All right. Okay, first. Oh, here we go. Now it's let me share. All right.
We're just feeling the suspense. You guys all feel like you're on the edge of your seat. How much did you trying to know? Show us.
All right, let's see here.
I mean, I think what I did is when I left keto, I just dropped the veg, but I didn't add anything else.
Oh,
So I put exactly the same food on my plate. I was buying the same food. I put the same food on my plate, but didn't increase it.
mm-hmm.
And it was just a case of I ate it, went to work. You know, it was more. I mean, I did say something to Stephen this week. I think I actually resent the time these extra meals this week have taken me.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I resent that extra meal. I resent that time spent doing it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm feeding myself. But it's like, yeah, but I really need to go. I really need to go and do whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to relearn that because I wasn't feeling hungry. I mean, I always listen to my body, but I wasn't feeling hungry. So it's like, okay, I can don't need it. But I do. It's so I think it's good to listen to your body. But I think sometimes the body doesn't always give you the right information.
I agree. This is like a reset.
Yeah, because I trained it not to eat very much.
You're right.
We get that a lot. We come up, Emily, with do you have pictures, Emma?
Unfortunately, Google is not allowing me to share. Chrome is not allowing me to share. I'd have to like update something or set certain
no worries. No
settings. So next time I will have it set up.
Next week, yes.
Jane, are you trying to pull them up?
I was just going to have a quick look if I can show them on my phone.
Well, what I wanted to say is that we see that a lot when people coming into carnivore, newcomers, and they are already used to 2 meals or 1 meal. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Clear enough.
That's what you used to eat.
We can get the idea.
I used to eat in a day, so a little bit of food in the morning, but that could be like 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Then this is all since I've started eating the extra fat. So this is with the fatty lattes. Yes. Cup of tea, probably a cup of tea before then, if I'm completely honest. That would be my first thing of the day. Then a fatty latte in the middle of the day when I came in from work, and then in the evening would be the evening meal, and a fatty latte and probably some fizzy water, and that would be it. And I wasn't hungry.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But and before I was eating the fatty lattes, it would probably have been maybe a bit of cheese midday instead of the fatty latte. But it was nothing. It wasn't a meal. I mean, I very rarely had more than 2 meals. And to be honest, if I had a cooked breakfast in the morning about 10, half 10, it would have to be like 7 o'clock at night. I'd be like, oh, I probably should eat.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I wasn't hungry. But it was also, obviously, Stephen wanted to eat. So it was a case of we work. And then because the food's there, it's like, oh, well, yes, I'll eat it. But it wasn't that I was desperate for it.
Right.
So I actually did want to ask you about that because for a little while, Steve and I were showing each other food pics and things like that. And I was like, oh, he's eating a little more often than I'm used to seeing him eating. And so I'm like, that's because Jane's priming, I think. Yeah. So
It's very hard for him to be around the smell of food and not eat.
I see.
Which is hard. But also I found it hard eating food on my own.
Right. You wanted some company.
Yeah. And actually it was easier to eat and easier to get through it because we were chatting and I'd be like, you know, I can eat this because somebody's here. If I was on my own, it was like, oh, okay. I really need to be going off and doing. And the other thing I realized is actually I need to approach the food like I really needed it.
Good.
Like I need to eat this. It's but that was mental, wasn't it?
There was a mindset shift.
Yes, a mindset. Yes, because if I didn't think like that, if it was like, oh, I've got to eat, I wasn't going to finish it.
Yeah, I can relate to that, definitely. In the beginning, I said, I have to give my body these nutrients. That's all I saw in the beginning as well. It's not like, oh, I have to eat this food. It's really fun. This body needs it right now. So that does help to eat more.
Yeah, and I think also I need to make sure I have variation of taste and textures. For me, it's textures I need. Otherwise, if I have a plate of steak on my plate, it's literally I lose saliva. I have like half of it, and then I'm like, I really can't eat this. So it's having cheese with it, or egg, or bacon, kind of makes it easier.
What's your favorite cheese, Coach Jane? I see the pictures, but I'm not quite sure what kind of cheese it is.
I like a good cheddar, but not the strong one that Raymond liked from the other day. It's too strong for me. And also mozzarella. I like mozzarella with between the bacon and the steak. That's nice because it just melts slightly. Yeah, it's been an interesting week.
I love the points that you're hitting, Jane. I think that this mindset piece is so important, and that might continue to be a challenge and get worse before it gets better. Priming is kind of like that. Week 2. So we'll talk about what you're heading into. It's just 3 meals a day, but you don't need the snacks. And so you're just kind of staying in this zone, this backing up the nutrients, but just getting your reserves really all set up for your hormones, for your thyroid, for your transition. So it's a really important time to continue to stick with it. And I do think that mindset piece is everything. I think if you go in with the right mindset, that's why we love to do this in a group, because we can encourage each other. We know there's lots of other people doing it, and we can get that positive feedback that this is what my tribe does. I'm in a well-nourished tribe now, and we are not afraid to feast. And so I love that you identified that mindset piece and the variety. Such a great priming tip. Different textures, different colors, like mix it all. And you have been so true through priming to also continue high fat. And so, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can manage all the things that they're doing. And, sometimes they have to lean out a little bit. How's the high fat felt? Does that still feel okay?
I realize I have to do the high fat.
Yes.
So last Tuesday, I had a very busy day with work. I was in and out all the time. So the fat went out the window. So I didn't have many. I think I had 1 fatty latte and 1 lot of butter. Wednesday, I had a dire day.
Really?
I felt really rough. Messaging you lot was brilliant. Adek's in my time zone, so as soon as I put something on, she's like,
yes,
yeah,
fine. And it's that, So Wednesday was horrible. I was very snappy. Poor Stephen.
Just even 1 day of not getting enough fat made that kind of an impact.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, Cherish, go.
I was just going to say, we do have a question about how long you've been priming. And for those that didn't tune in last week, this is Coach Jane's 2nd week of priming. She's going into her 2nd week.
You're over halfway through.
I know. I actually wondered whether, with the hormones, with the fat, whether we should still be tracking our moods, like we do when periods are on, because I actually think there are weeks when I need more fat.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Even though I'm menopausal, I think it's I haven't had a period in 2 years, but I still think that the hormones still cycle.
Oh yeah.
So I think that is something that's possibly worth tracking, because I think at certain points in that cycle, I will need more fat.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
We'll call them phantom periods in our group. Is that what we call them? Yep.
Yeah, kind of like phantom periods. Wait, speaking of high fat, we have a question from Zoe about if there's any tricks. She's been trying to increase her fat, but has diarrhea, takes digestive enzymes. It's in her 5th month, and so she wants to know what our tricks are for increasing fat.
Boy, I think diarrhea is a real sign. I think that's your body not tolerating it. So we kind of have to know a little more context with this, like what kinds of fats exactly are in the diet right now. Because we certainly have clients and members that can tolerate one type, but they can't tolerate another type. absolutely our number one tip is no melted or rendered or liquid fats, because that will for sure trigger a diarrhea in a beginner. Like you can almost count on it. So yeah.
And I would like to see maybe just decrease your fat just a bit, maybe to half, and then add it back in slowly. So what I always say is it's a tablespoon per week per each meal, and that's how slow you should put it back in.
Oh, yeah. Great tip.
And I think she'll be able to just keep those digestive enzymes in. Do you think, Emily? But if if you're still having diarrhea, maybe you could take them out.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful to Zoe. Really appreciate the question. It's also helpful to know how frequently it's happening, if it's happening right after a meal, because just because you have 1 or 2 loose stools a week doesn't mean that you're not tolerating the fat all the time. Sometimes I overdo it. I mean, I've been carnivore for over a year, and I still occasionally will have loose stools. Coach Raymond, who's in our chat the other day, was talking about how he had a loose stool moment. And he's been carnivore for like 5 years now. So it can happen to any of us, right? So, just hang in there. It's just, I kind of think of it as like a cleansing. Like, oh my goodness, I feel so much lighter now all of a sudden. Why is that? So thank you for that question. All right.
Well, since we're on a sort of toilet conversation, something that's surprised me this week, I've had no extra toilet visits.
Oh, your body's absorbing.
Yes. I've also, if you saw the stats I sent you on the chat, my weight and my body fat hasn't changed yet.
No, everything's the same.
It's kind of stayed pretty. I mean, there's slight bits of variations, but nothing very much.
Oh, good.
So it's interesting, because I thought, well, hang on, if that's not happening and I'm not going to the toilet, where's it going? So obviously my body's using it.
Yes,
absolutely.
Have we already asked how you're feeling about the meals being larger, and just overall how you're feeling about priming?
On the whole, it's been very positive. It's quite different for me, because it's just the hardest meal's the first one in the morning.
Yes.
Because of the way I work, if I don't eat in the morning, I'm not going to be eating until maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that doesn't work. So I have to have something before I go out. And that's the one I literally have to make myself eat. And it's that. So I make myself eat it by telling myself I can't have a cup of tea until I've eaten.
There it is.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if I pop back in the morning, I will have scrambled eggs 10:30, 11, because it's quick.
Right.
I can eat it and then be back out in half an hour. So so I'm probably having maybe 4 meals, but smaller ones, because that's easier for me to cope with, A, time wise, and B, actually, if I have a plate full of food, it just puts me off. So I have to make it smaller. I've been in and out of ketosis. Question was just asked. And yes, I am pretty much fat adapted.
Even before priming?
Yeah. I do think I would possibly have struggled priming if I hadn't have been carnivore for a while. That would have really fazed me.
It's to your advantage that you were in the zone already. Your body was used to it. And so it is, we do recommend it for beginner carnivores, but I can tell that part of your smooth sailing process through this is based on that fact that you are coming from a carnivore spot, because I haven't heard or seen of exhaustion, not being able to kind of make it through your routines. Have you been able to keep up your routines decently?
Yeah, pretty much. And actually that is the one thing, my energy levels have been more stable.
Oh,
Wow.
great.
I haven't had that dip
Hmm.
with eating like this, so it definitely does work.
Yes.
And the other thing, I'm going to confess now. So I realized my other thing I used to do even when I was still carnivore but not priming, was when I was out, if I got slightly hungry before a class, I would eat a mint
Oh, there it is.
in the car.
Mhm.
And I didn't even. So this week I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's obviously a slight amount of sugar,
Yeah.
Right.
and also that
Yes.
taste.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. So it's also. I mean, the trouble I have if I eat too close to a class, I really struggle. Indigestion, feeling sick. So
Mhm.
I have to get the timing right. So Victoria's just asked, does anyone get nauseated when I eat too much fat? Yes.
Mhm.
I can't have too much fat first thing in the morning without food.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my fatty latte. So I have my food, my tea. I'm not giving up my tea just yet. I'm down to 2 cups a day from 6.
Lovely, lovely.
There we go.
I have the fatty latte and my stomach can cope with that. And I'm not very good having a fatty latte just before bed.
All right. Oh, good. So you have tried it all, and you really did feel nauseated after that.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
So I love your confession. Thank you for trusting us with that.
Yes.
That's so good. And that's so important
Sure.
to just be like, we're just whatever, just going about our days. We all have little things that we're still working on. But I do think that priming is one of the best ways that we can get it to 100%.
Yeah.
And so if you've got something that's nagging after you, diet pop, if you want to give up coffee, if you want to give up, sweeteners, gums, priming is a really great tool to use to kind of bridge that gap. So that was super encouraging to hear that took care of your little pre-workout mint there.
Yeah. And I love it that you realize that you've been doing that
Mhm.
all along,
Yeah, and
Wow.
it was like I suppose I didn't even class it as a food. It was
Right.
there in the
Mhm.
car, and it's a habit.
Yes. And I think people with chewing gum have that as well.
Oh, totally. I was such a gum chewer. I just couldn't stop. And
Mhm.
it took until, I think priming was pretty much when I gave that up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
So coaches, we have a question. How do you know you are fat adapted? Coach Jane, would you like to address this
I
first?
mean, we've got a little machine that does glucose and does ketones. It's not something I would necessarily recommend, and I've only used it because I'm priming. It isn't something I ever check. But while I'm priming, it seemed to make sense. I'll have a quick look. My ketones were, hang on, get the right app. That would help.
And it's also interesting because you live with such a sciencey partner.
Yes, he would like
he loves numbers. We know he loves numbers.
Yeah, he's very good at doing the tracking.
So there are other things that we can look at if you to know if you're fat adapted, like no more sugar cravings.
Yes.
Mhm.
Stable energy levels.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Decreased appetite.
Yeah. Brain fog goes away. Is that one of them?
Oh yes, absolutely. Mhm.
Overall
Yes.
energy.
Yes, I mean, I did an early morning test, and my glucose was 4.6, which is the UK one, which I think works out at about 82 US, and my ketones were 0.8. So I was in moderate ketosis, and it's been up and down a few, but it's never. But even Stephen, when he was priming, and he's been fat adapted for ages, his ketones are up and down. So the testing the ketones is not necessarily something that you need to do. And I think even when you are fully fat adapted, your ketones go up and down because your body produces them. So you could check it one part of the day and you'll be in ketosis, and the next few hours later you won't be. So that is not necessarily.
No, it really isn't at all. I think, there are some therapeutic ketosis for cancers and for some other things, but it's like, we know our diet is 100% carnivore. We know we're getting the correct fuel. We're not restricting fat. We're not restricting protein. We're not doing any of those things. And so I think that this is a really nice time to learn a new skill and to let the other mindsets go. Let the scale go, let the body, you know, the DEXA scans, just like let that rest a little bit and just get this nourishing, or maybe forever, maybe just let that go forever. It definitely allows us to become more intuitive in our lives. That's less stress, less things we have to think about. And we know we're getting healthier while we're going about that.
And it is another step to freedom. I mean, we would talk about that all the time, and just letting go of the numbers is one part of it.
Right. Well, we have a few more questions before we end this live. So Victoria wants to know if there's a video to how to start priming. Victoria, if you are a part of the September challenge in the Steak and Butter Gang, we teach all about how to start priming, how long to do priming, along with the entire Coach Raymond's fasting protocol, if you're interested in doing something like that. Not to mention, we have all kinds of guest speakers and Zoom support meetings. So feel free, if you haven't already signed up, to check that out.
Yep, you'll just need to look up the replays, because Raymond teaches priming every Tuesday all month long. And so you can check and go to the replays to watch the videos. And then we'll, of course, have follow-ons once a week. We kind of, he teaches all about it all over again.
Yep. Okay. And I'm not sure if this is a question or not. But the person here, Irma, is talking about how she is so much warmer and that she's able to resist sugar. Totally normal. I used to have a situation with my hands and feet were always cold, and that has completely resolved itself. And I attribute part of that to priming as well as staying carnivore afterwards.
I think she's also asking that, or mentioning that she's tired during her priming weeks, and we see that a lot. It's common.
That's normal too. Yes.
It will pass. Yeah, it will pass.
I do find that the heat, I find that if I eat a big plate of protein, I get hot while I'm eating.
Yes, hot flashes are common as well. Yeah,
which was because I've stopped my hot flushes. The first couple of days when it did that, I was like, oh, I don't want the hot flushes back. But it's not. As soon as I've eaten, it goes off again.
Great.
Yeah, it's a different one.
I think that a lot of people, the high fat that you're doing with the hot flashes with the menopause is so calming to that particular issue as well. So, but it's normal. You'll get a little bit of that thermogenic effect because of the protein. I think it, heats up the body as it digests it.
Yeah.
So shall we do this again next week, ladies, and find out if Coach Jane actually gets sick of eating by the time the week is over? So thanks everybody for joining this live. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification button for the Butter Dish. We post a lot of success stories, folks that are, like Coach Jane, within their journey, or, when they're kind of at the end of their transformation journey. We have all different kinds of helpful tips in there. So please give a thumbs up, share this information with somebody that you might think it's helpful. We really appreciate you joining us live today. Thank you so much. And forgive my voice. Carnivore is great, but it doesn't make you invincible. I am sick, but I'll be fine. And I appreciate all the people checking in on me. Thank you.
Guys, yeah, all wonderful.
Thank you, Coach Raymond. We got a comment from Coach Raymond on this. So bye, guys.
Bye,
everyone.
You got me through this week.